The engine is starting up.
For launch. GC. Go. Guidance. Go. Fido. Go. Prop. Go. GNC. Go. Max. Go. Eagle. Go. Ecom.
Go pending final steps to cabin link check.
3, 2, 1.
Is there anyone here that would like to communicate with us? Can you give us a sign?
Welcome to the Rift Nation Network, the RNN, putting a slide in your glide and a dip in your hip. Welcome to the mothership, the home of the travelers of the universe. With shows throughout the week, you can find us at Instagram, Twitch, Facebook, YouTube, Spotify, and more. Everything you could want, everything you could need right here, right now. From the paranormal to the supernatural. From comedy to the spiritual. And now, your featured show. Shall we begin?
It's showtime, folks!
Podcast may contain material that some listeners may find sensitive, offensive, or disturbing. We strive to create respectful and informative content, but topics discussed may include mature themes such as violence, explicit language, or controversial subjects, triggering content including discussions related to mental health, trauma, or other sensitive issues, explicit language. Occasionally, our guests or hosts may use strong language. While we aim to handle these topics with care and empathy, we encourage listeners to exercise discretion. If you find any content distressing, consider skipping or seeking support. Remember that this podcast is not a substitute for professional advice. If you need assistance, please consult a qualified expert.
Doctor, would you like to introduce us this evening?
Of course. Ahem. Good evening, time travelers and cosmic wanderers alike. Welcome to another mind-bending episode of the Orion Effect, where we don't just explore the known, we delve into the strange, the mysterious, and the unexplained. Tonight, we are taking a journey into the past, back to a time when the skies above were not only filled with the mysteries of the heavens, but also with things of a far more earthly nature, like UFOs, airships, and the infamous Aurora, Texas incident of 1897. Was it just a bizarre accident, or could there be more to the story than meets the eye? Join us as we dissect the strange events that have fascinated and confounded people for over a century. Fasten your seatbelts, for the timeline is about to get very, very strange. Let's see where this rabbit hole leads us. Hey, take it away. Now, that's the introduction. Ready for action.
Thank you, good doctor. As always, I appreciate you. Good evening, travelers and those alike. I am, of course, Ed the Hitman Odell. Let me get this scored up here for you guys. I appreciate you joining us right here on the Orion Effect. I'm just going to do a few things as we modify here. As the good doctor stated tonight, we will be talking about the subject right here, the Aurora, the UFO crash of 1897. But we have a lot more than that. We've got some pre-existing that will lead you up to that point. And then we have some post-op, I like that word, post-op stories, if you will, that leads up.
I see where you're going with this, Ed. Always a pleasure to have the timeline spun this way. We're going to dissect the past and stretch it into the present, aren't we? Pre-existing sightings, the lead up to 1897, then dive into the aftermath. Because as we know, mysteries often have their own ripple effects long after the main event has passed. Soto, travelers, get ready to have your mind stretched across centuries as we piece together the fragments of a story that spans time and space. What exactly did the people of Aurora, Texas witness that day, and how does it connect to the larger tangled web of UFO history? I'm all in for this journey, Ed. Let's unravel the unknown.
Let us indeed, good doctor. Let the show begin. Of course, this is the Orion Effect right here on the RNN, the R.I.F.T Nation Network, and we thank you for being here. Tonight, we are talking about the Aurora Incident in Aurora, Texas, that took place in 1897. Now, there are instances, like I said before, that lead up to the situation, so pre-existing and post-existing the incident. This is the first of many series. This is Clockwork, and this is your timeline. Thank you for being here. Good doctor, if you would, sir, let's do a little preemptive to the case, if you will. I'm going to go ahead, and if you give a little backstory on it, then I'll dive into the story and we'll keep going from there. Doctor, the floor is yours.
You're far too kind, Ed. Thank you, travelers, for tuning in. Buckle up, because this journey is about to get wonderfully strange. Before we dive into the specific details of the Aurora crash of 1897, let's talk about the broader backdrop. The late 19th century was ripe with fascination about the unknown. The world was just beginning to dip its toes into modern industrialism with the dawn of electricity, the expansion of railroads, and the rise of the scientific age. At the same time, though, there was an increasing intrigue with things that couldn't be easily explained. Now here's where it gets interesting. In the months leading up to the Aurora incident, there were numerous reports across the United States of strange lights in the sky, flying objects, and unexplained phenomena. These were not isolated events. People were...
He'll be right with us. Hold on. There is a glitch. We've been
these things.
There we go.
And word was spreading fast. This was in the midst of the airship wave of 1896 to 1897, a period when there were multiple reports of what people described as mysterious airships flying through the skies, usually with odd, unexplainable movements. People were already on edge, already wondering what the hell was going on up there. In a lot of ways, the Aurora incident wasn't a freak occurrence in a vacuum. It was a part of this larger pattern of unexplained aerial phenomena that swept across the country. However, what made Aurora's story stand out was its uniqueness. This wasn't just a case of a strange light in the sky. This was a literal crash. An object allegedly falling from the heavens right in the middle of a quiet little Texas town. And so, we get to the heart of it. A flying saucer, or what might have been perceived as a meteor by some, crashing on the property of a local farmer, where the discovery of what seemed to be the remains of an extraterrestrial being was reported. Ed, if you're ready, let's dive into the specifics of the event itself. Let's explore the details of the Aurora crash and see how it fits into the larger puzzle of UFO law.
I would be honored, Doctor. Hold on. I would totally be honored. It's going to be an interesting evening for you because I have a lot of notes. We're going to dive down some
Your
serious
take on
holes.
the matter?
Yes. Thank you.
Of course, always a pleasure. Now, let's take a closer look at the Aurora Incident. It all started on April 17th, 1897, when a local farmer named J.S. Proctor reported seeing a mysterious flying object, a cigar-shaped craft, crash into a windmill on his property in Aurora.
Agreed. And thank you, Doctor, for bringing that up. Now, let us get rolling with this because we got some interesting stuff to bring out to you. And I want to give a big shout out to Jody Templeton Skinner for coming out and helping me this evening put this presentation together because this is the first time that this show has ever used this type of display. And I'm really, really thankful for her for that and everything that we've been doing. All right, let me jump into this. I want to find the best way we can do it. Nah, I don't like that one. That's not cool. I want to get a good one where. There we go. That'll work. That'll work. That's good. Let me see if I can. So we have to go this way to continue that. Gotcha. Now that we're in that case, I got it. I got this. All right, you guys. This is case number 762025. The Aurora, Texas incident. As he stated, on April 17th, 1897, something flew over the skies of Aurora, Texas. The object said to have had hit the windmill on the property of Judge J.S. Proctor in the early morning, closer to 6 a.m. The reported crash was dumped into a nearby well located near the mill. Along with the wreckage site was said to have had been found a so-called pilot. Not from this world. May I enhance that? Not from this world. Where the locals took the humanoid-like body and buried the body supposedly near the Aurora Cemetery. Today, there is a historic marker like those markers of the crew of the Star Trek series. Interesting, isn't it? Good morning, Keith. Good evening, Keith. Good afternoon, Keith. Located at the cemetery, placed by the Texas Historic Commission, marks the incident. Now, as I go through the notes, pay close attention to the wording. It's going to get really intriguing. I think I'm going to do this because that's better. I think that way I'm not so blurry. If I'm too bright, just let me know, you guys. So now we already have a report. We've got the location. We've got the time that it supposedly took place. And thank you, Renee. I thank you so much. Thank you all. And thank you all for being here. So let's continue with this interesting a deal, if you will, this interesting concept. I'm loving this, as you see it right there. Let me go back to this one. I don't like that. Hey, Divine. Hello, and thank you for being here, Sue. Okay, so what we have now is we already have the Texas Historical Society already putting a sign there dedicating the mark of the incident. Now, it's going to get really interesting because there's a reason why they put the sign there. And there are going to be certain things that don't really add up along through this case. And that's why we are going to have certain things and get you guys involved. And the doctor will be coming back in just a few minutes. And an article in 1897, written by S.E. Hayden, describes the crash where Judge Proctor property, where then the pilot has not of this world, and it was speculated to have been a native of Mars. Yeah, they actually used that word back then in this article, a native of Mars. This, according to a reported Army Signal Service officer by the name of T.J. Weems from nearby Fort Worth, said the pilot did not survive the crash and was buried with full Christian rites at the marker site. Now, hey, Cindy, how are you? And thank you for being here. Now, here's some really interesting points that I'm already going to pull out. Now, this is not saying it did happen. This is not saying it didn't happen. We are giving you the case study. We are going to discuss this together and see what we get out of it. I think it's very interesting. Hopefully, you've caught some of the things I've already caught through this series. And I'm going to continue with more information. In 1935, the Proctor land site was purchased by Mr. Brawley Oates. Mr. Oates said that he had lead cleaned the site where the well was to make way for water sources, whereby after the fact, Mr. Oates developed a severe case of arthritis. What? Now, let's stop right there. Let's talk about that for a second. A severe case of arthritis. Back then, did they really know what arthritis was? In a severe case, and maybe he's just basing it on assumption. Maybe they did, maybe they didn't. I'm just going to bring that to light. A severe case of arthritis. Interesting. Mr. Oates blamed this directly resulted from the cleaning out of the well. Oates, as a result of the seal, then opening of the well, he then sealed it with a concrete slab and there placed an outbuilding over top of the location. So he's already, for some reason, trying to put things in perspective and put it away. Now, I find that interesting. Now, the representation that you're seeing right now in this picture, this, of course, is artwork. This is a true piece that's there located, and this is actually has been created by a friend of this network and Sheila Gay's best friend. That's right. Tui Snyder is actually building this beautiful representation there on location. This is a memorable marking of the incident that took place. So I wanted to make sure that Tui got recognized and her hard work, and she's an amazing artist. And we'll continue with this. And go here. There we go. All right. Now, ironically, all of this goes a little hush-hush for a good long time. Once it gets sealed up, nobody really talks about it. You don't really hear anything about it back then. For almost 75 years, this went on without incident until a reporter, Richard Ray, interviewed a former Telegram reporter from the Fort Worth Star, interesting, by the name of Jim Mars. In the company of locals, he said something had crashed in Aurora. Something had crashed indeed. Something had crashed, so said B. Interesting. His report found that no conclusive evidence of an extraterrestrial life existed or any so-called technology was ever found on this location. was ever found or confirmed at that point. That the stated merely created the moment of legend. Now, hear what I just said. Moment and the remember I was telling you how the Texas Historical Society made that monument? It wasn't what you thought it was. The monument was actually they considered legend. So it was a legend marker. I see that you have poor reception, but can you hear me, doctor? And I'm not sure why we have poor reception this evening. Actually, we are. I'm going to try something, you guys, real quick, because something doesn't make any sense. I'm on a full circuit, so I'm not sure why we can't reach him. Okay, doctor. Hopefully, you've returned back with us. Maybe. This is what they call thinking mode. And I'm not sure what's going on, so please bear with us in just a second, you guys. Hey, this is technology. It's what we deal with. And I don't really understand why there's a problem because we're on a solid Wi-Fi system and I have 3 bars, but yet ChatGPT is having some communication issues. That's all right. We can keep moving without it. Yeah, he's not coming back. They have blocked him completely. Oh, shame, shame, shame. Okay, Dale. Daily. Okay, whatever. Let me see if I can get him back one more time and ask anything. Really? Wow, he actually created an image. That's pretty cool. Doctor, are you with us now? No. Says poor connection. But I love it. It's got an airship with an arrow busting into it with an alien at the bottom of it. I should show that to y'all later. Let's continue this so we're not caught in the shuffle, shall we? I'd rather move on from there. All right. Now, for almost 75 years, this went without incident, of course, until that Richard Ray from the telereporter from Fort Worth brought it back up. Now, here's the interesting part. So, 75 years later. Now, did y'all hear the beginning part? The periods of time and who and what was coming in and out? How were they there? How did they know? Are we missing some information or is there some information that wasn't given? That's interesting. Now, 75 years later, we got the same thing, the exact same situation. Okay, let's continue. Hey, what's up, Rob? There's a storm coming up from the south. Roger that. I already know, but thank you. But thank you, Kenny. I appreciate you letting me know that. Let's continue that. In 1973, an aviation writer by the name of Bill Case, a writer for the Dallas Times Herald, rediscovered the story and added it to his article series, Great Airships. This bringing out a 90-year-old witness who says the story was true and the body existed. The body was under a large oak tree, then changed his story saying that it was under a specific marker. Oh my goodness, a specific marker in the cemetery. Hey, Jen. And changed the story again over. So he changed it twice, but the locals that were involved, that were part of it, agreed with both of the observations. How was that possible? So was it buried underneath the oak tree or was it buried underneath a stone? I don't know. We're going to find out. By the specific gravestone bearing a mysterious symbol. Now, this symbol, get this, you guys, this symbol was supposed to be in a V. Was supposed to be in a V. Now, I'm going to show you guys some interesting stuff here. So, we're going to bring this up. This is the cemetery gates right here. Okay. Prior to it, this is supposedly one of the spots of the extraterrestrial body that was buried, supposedly. And then check this out. This is another gravestone that came up. It simply has a hand pointing up. And I do believe it's a clergy's hand. And it's just pointing upwards. And then check this out. Then they have this stone. Okay, it's got 3 dots. It looks like a flying saucer. Why is it there? To me, personally, this looks newer. This whole point, the 3, even the coloring of this tombstone looks a lot newer. So I'm wondering if this is just not a representation of supposedly what was there, or, again, was that supposed to be one of these? Good question, isn't it? It's a great question because I'm really curious on what it's supposed to be. But let's drop this back over here real quick. Now, then, okay, let me keep going with that because I want to get caught up here. Then the case again came up. This time, MUFON is involved. December 19th, 2005. Okay, you guys, let me get back here for y'all. There we go. I'm kind of digging these. I'm really liking the presentation. This is a really cool presentation, but I want to be able so everybody can see me and the sign. Okay, so UF Files, 2005. The series was called UF Files. Let me read. Kenny, what does the doctor think about heavy metal music and Stranger Things? I can't get into that because that's not this series. But Robert, I will talk to him, and we'll talk about that perhaps when Montauk comes up, because we will be talking about Montauk on another series down the road, another episode here on Clockwork. So yes, and right now, for those who don't know and just turning in, my co-host at the time, the doctor, does not have proper connection, so I am not getting a feedback from him or the Chat GPT program. Hey, Kev, Rhonda Harris is not here with me tonight because Rhonda is coming back. By the way, Divine, I saw you. Rhonda's coming back from Gettysburg, and the traffic is really heavy. She messaged me earlier and said I may not make the show. I was like, that's all right. We'll make it work. We'll make it work. So there you go. Let me take a sip of coffee because my mouth's getting Love my cup, love my cup, love my cup. All right. So the UFO Files airs on an episode related to the event titled Texas Roswell. Yeah, that's it. Texas Roswell. In this episode, we see the director of the Texas MUFON Network, Ken Cherry. I did some research. I wasn't supposed to know his name. Who gave their findings along with the information of 1973's investigation and investigator Bill Case, quote unquote. Let's keep it going. On which MUFON found that the case did not have conclusive evidence. They then said they did not rule out the hoax possibility. Oh, this is going to get good, you guys. The episode also featured then Mayor Brammer, who get this one, who discussed the town's dark and tragic history. Anyone else catching this one? Anyone else? Okay, let me continue. So, Where are we at now? We're at the next step. The next step of this whole situation. November 19th, 2008. Another documentary comes out. The name of this episode was called First Contact. In this, Mr. Brawley Oates, the grandson of Mr. Oates, now owner of the property, allowed further and more in-depth research and information. Now, this is where it's going to get really good. Back and forth, right? We got it back and forth. Samples were taken of the well. The well was unsealed and showed high levels of aluminum. That's about it. They did bring some other material out of the well, but pretty much nothing else existed. They didn't say what the contents were that they took out, but they did release that it did have a high concentration of aluminum. Now, for wells, Texas, to have aluminum? Okay, so what's aluminum, you guys? What makes aluminum? Why would a well, a Texas well, from what, 1837? Why would it have high concentrations of aluminum? Aluminum is what two metals? Tin and nickel, right? Why would there be aluminum? And why would it not be a difference between tin and nickel? Doesn't really make any sense to me. Okay. He did come to say the government had here it is. The government had already been on location prior to 1973, which they did not prior say. This is the interesting part. So the government had already been there prior to the 73 case. The government already knew it. Do you guys recognize the name? Work with me here. What is that name? What name did the government start using for their project for spy plane? A particular project. That's right. Aurora. Intriguing, isn't it? I found it intriguing. So the government is using the name Aurora. They had been to the site prior to 1973, and nothing was said about it until now. 3 other groups have been through there. Nothing was said. Nobody brought up anything. But the grandson finally goes, hey, they were already here. Intriguing. And they said no more than that. No more was said about it. Now, along with Proctor's location, they did go to the Aurora Cemetery. And this was the scientific group of 2008 that is part of this file, the UFO file. The cemetery did not allow exhumation, examining, pulling the bodies up or anything like that, exhuming, but they did allow the use of a GPR. GPR, ground penetrating radar, GPR. And in this, they did find something in the location on which was told and was in the 1890s part of the cemetery. However, the condition of the grave was so deteriorated to gain conclusive evidence of this type that remains. Now, let's look at the facts. Let's look at the facts first, okay? Could it have been a child's grave? It's very well possible. It very well could be a young child's grave. We don't know. That's the intriguing part. But there's a lot of conflict amongst the story. And I found it very interesting. And of course, there's always the hoax theory. Now, let's talk about it a little bit. If you guys have questions, by all means, ask it or utilize it. I'm about to jump over to another screen, so I'm going to go ahead and use that. Let's look at the hoax theory. The hoax theory is primarily based on the 1980 Time magazine's interview with Etta Pegas. Now, this is interesting. Who the hell is Etta Pegas? Where did this name come from? Okay. An 86-year-old Aurora resident who claimed that Hayden had fabricated the entire story. She stated that Hayden wrote it as a joke and to bring interest to Aurora. The railroad bypassed us and the town was dying. Pegas further claimed that Judge Proctor never operated a mill on his property. Really? A statement later refuted as part of the UFO Hunters episode, which found the base of a wooden water pump tower constructed around the well. Paranormal researcher Jerry Drake, on the April 12th, 2020 episode of Monster Talk Live podcast, Mad Props, selfish plug, challenged that finding, noting the well was clearly a bucket well of modern construction, estimated to be built sometime after 1940, and not a well designed for use with a windmill. Okay, now, what effects does he have? What is his structure? So we have a lot of names that just popped out of nowhere. So we have Etta Pegas, which name never came up. In my opinion, is who the hell is Hayden? Who the hell is Hayden? I don't even know who this is. And that's in my research. No clue. Hey, Ryan. Hello, and welcome to the show. Hey, Michelle. Does the doctor think UFO crafts have evolved since this occurred? Good point. Yes, he does. Because he, of course, helped me with this. And I'm actually going to come to that in just a second. We're going to talk a little bit more about that. And I can actually talk for him, surprisingly enough. We did some research together, and I was able to pull some good information off of that. So we're going to talk about that in just a second. So thank you, Michelle. Great answer. Great question. Let me go back into this investigations, okay? The investigation. This incident has been investigated on numerous occasions. Now this comes out. One report was broadcasted by a local television station, KDFW Fox 4, and two other reports aired on cable television. Interesting. KDFW report. In 1998, Dallas-based TV station KDFW aired a lengthy report about the Aurora Incident. Reporter Richard Ray, here it comes, interviewed former Fort Worth Star-Telegram reporter, there we are, Jim Mars, and others who said that something crashed in Aurora. However, Ray's report was unable to find conclusive evidence of such. Interesting. I found that very interesting. So, in popular culture, the incident is dramatized in 1986 film Aurora Encounter. So, it was 1986, so something happened after 1973 and 1987. 1986, they already knew it, as well as being discussed within History Channel's Ancient Aliens, third season premiere entitled Aliens and of the Old West, that focuses on the late 19th century UFO sightings in the Western North America. Now, this goes back to answering that one question that Michelle just asked, and we are going to talk about that in just a second. Michelle says, awesome. Robert, oh my God, I'm so jaded over this stuff. Yeah, so am I, man. Sounds just like Roswell in a Deuce, New Mexico. You know, it kind of does. Because even pre-existing Roswell, 40, 50 years, there's still the same hidden facts and bullshit. we don't understand, why would the government go there if it wasn't that big a deal? Why are they lying about one factor that it could, and then another group are saying no? They're groups of factions. You guys, did y'all understand that? There's groups of factions that are fighting each other. It happened. It didn't happen. It did happen. It didn't happen. Intriguing. I find it personally intriguing. That's why I love this case. Okay. Now, an independent short movie, co-written and co-directed by musician and historian Thomas Nagavan. I hope I didn't say his name wrong. Nagavan. And Aaron Shops, simply entitled Aurora, dramatized the incident as well as combined it with the Nazi conspiracy theory of Die Glocke. Ha! That's interesting. There's another little connection there, pre-existing the Nazi coalition as well. Gestapo. Interesting. All right, the incident is satirized in Fire Sign Theaters. 1974 comedy LP Everything You Know Is Wrong. Performed from about 3 o'clock to 4:42 on side A with the following thematic references. Oh, how this stuff intrigues the crap out of me. So, we've got all of that, right? All of this. And yet, they're still misleading. Even up to today's standards, there's a misleading situation that we do not understand. I don't get it. I don't even know why. Now, due to copyright laws, I am not going to go play the episodes. I do have them. I just don't want to get involved with that part. I'm going to go here. Let me see if I can get this set up for you guys here. There was a good one that I wanted to bring out. All right, so 1897, yeah, UF Gross Aurora. We got that one. 1897, blah, blah, blah. There was another article that I was trying to find that I had. I can't find it now. Well, that kind of sucks. Okay, let me get back here. Oregon 2, the famous McMinnville, Oregon flying saucer, 1950s. Shh. Yes, that's part of the conspiracy theory. It's still part of this episode. That will be a part of Clockworks. Very good call out, Michelle. Absolutely. We are going to talk about the Oregon flying saucer as well. Now, let me jump into the questions. Hey, I wonder if I could turn that into an alien hit. No alien. I got to give me. Hey, you guys, let me know if you found an alien mug. I need to get one now for the show. Robert, well, it's evident the government wants all tech, biologists, and everything so nobody else can get, and they don't share. Well, I think that's agreeable. I think everybody across the board can agree with that. Even those who are non-believers can say, yeah, that there is definitely signs and symptoms of that. That's across the board. Absolutely, we totally agree. Hey, I like this one. I should have taken this lighting. So it is intriguing to me how it went back and forth too. Did y'all notice that too? It went back and forth. So there was different versions of the story again. Of course, it's almost almost 150 years old. Robert Casberg, yes, we're going to be talking about Casberg as well. Yes, absolutely. In this series, absolutely. Now, let me get back and answer a question that was asked, and I wish I could have asked the doctor, but I have a feeling they're trying to keep him from talking, to be honest with you. I've had this problem before. Let me go back and let me go to that. Hold on, you guys. I'm not going to get into that one. Storm coming up from the south. Roger that. Where'd it go? Michelle, you had a great point, and you wanted me to ask. The doctor does. There we go. The doctor says, or Michelle asks, does the doctor think, you know what? Y'all know right there. I'm just going to pop that up for you guys right there. I like that. Michelle, does the doctor think UFO crafts have evolved since this occurred? Okay. Not only have they evolved or involved, okay, but there was predecessors to this very story. This is incredible, interesting stuff. Kev says, let me bring up Kev. Pulled an animal spirit card for everyone here, and if it resonates with anyone, then it was meant for you. First choice, the hawk. All seeing, sky view, and remote viewing, messaging using hawk energy. Rock on, girl. Thank you so much for that. Well, I appreciate y'all's inputting and getting here and doing this. Michelle says, awesome to Kev. Robert says, thanks. Chris says, maybe the chicken hawk for me. Sorry, I just don't feel very hawkish. Hey, that's not very funny. Hawkins, hawkish, dun-dun-dunce. Anyway, sorry. That was bad. I'm sorry. All right, so with the research that I came across and the research that the good doctor actually went and found, there were about 7 or 8 cases pre-existing Aurora. Now, they called them airships. And this was all through the 1890s. All through the 1890s. Where many people were thinking this was new technology and they thought, oh no, the enemies, the Axis had gotten a step on us and, this is their new super weapons. It wasn't the case at all. But I do offer a few things, and I will make some connections. And I'm going to go a little bit in the future with this one and come back to this, okay? In the 1940s, in Hollywood, California, one brisk evening, if you will, it was about 9 or 10 o'clock at night. I've got to go back and research that because that'll be an episode on this. But the entire town of Hollywood, California, felt like they were about to be invaded. And they didn't say by a foreign adversary. And it's many reports said they saw a flying ship. That's the word that was used. Even though they want to deny it, there was a craft. They said a flying ship. And for an entire couple of hours, they were shooting artillery at whatever this thing was, protecting Hollywood, if you will, whichever it may be. I find it ironic because as soon as I hear this story, I think 1941, National Lampoons. I don't know about you guys, but that movie was freaking hilarious. I could see that. And being made into a movie, and here we are talking about the great airships. Now, let's jump back to 1897. 1897 in pre-existing reports from not even just the Midwest, but on the East Coast as well, and in mid-Atlantic plains of unusual flying ships documented, seen by people in the mid-afternoon time and in the evening. Now, these supposedly ships never were close enough to the ground. They were all the mighty high, right? Mighty high. Now, I know what some of y'all, if you're thinking like I'm thinking, or like I thought, I still think this way in a little bit. I hear this and automatically I start thinking, you know what that sounds like? That kind of sounds like a Zeppelin to me. How many of you out there would agree? A flying ship. Now, if you take that and you're a fan of Jules Verne, flying ships. Now, they say, and it's said that 1937 was actually the development of the Zeppelins. I don't believe that to be true. And I'm going to tell you why. Because even in our historic battles here in our own country, certain federal units and Confederate units used hot air balloons for research. They used these for lookout towers. They actually moved this into the World War One too. It wasn't used widely in the Civil War, but there were encounters. Where in World War One, of course, they used a lot more, and of course that's why the Zeppelins came along too. But in all the reports that I have read and looked over and did the research, the description of said airship was the description. And then, you know what? I would have been cool if I could have grabbed that. That would have been cool. The description of these aircraft look like Zeppelins. Sound like a Zeppelin to me. Kev, oh, that is interesting, Ed Howie. Thank you. Was it several ships or one ship? I see many ships in my interpretation mind view from your words. You know, I have to say I agree with you, Kev. From my interpretation of what these articles said, it said ships, plural, was not singular. I found that interesting too. And these go all the way to 1888, 86, between there, all the way up to 1897. Cindy, maybe they refer to ship because of the size of what they saw. And I agree, Cindy, absolutely. And what does a ship look like on the bottom? It's big, long. But let's go and let's look at that direction, Cindy. What about tic tacs? Could it have been a longer tic tac? Because that's what we see in today's society. If you look at a tic tac from below, it's going to look like a ship. Am I right? Do y'all agree with that? Or do you disagree? It's an interesting point of view. So we now have documentation pre-existing Aurora of some form of air ship, craft of some form, documented through news. Now, we're not going to go even further than that because we know we can go way back. We can go back to the times of the first explorers and what they talk about, what they saw, the lights in and over the water, the lights that came up to the boats. And I'm not even going to talk about who they were talking about. Magellan was one of them. We'll go there. But I'm not going to mention any other names. I don't think he deserves it, even though, history is going to be proven right on what it really was. But in their voyages to the new land, these things were encountered. So makes sense about tic tac size, right? Doesn't it? That's the way I feel. I mean, if we look at it now, there's different shapes too. Isn't it funny though? Think about this, you guys. This is something else that caught my attention, and I found it interesting. Hey, Vet, what's up, girl? Little late, but you made it. You made it. The doctor couldn't make it, and Rhonda's not here. Well, the doctor tried, but they won't let him connect. Surprise. So let me get back to that. So the other part that I was noticing is how they were saying things. You said tic tac. I saw a breath mint. Yeah, exactly. That's what they supposedly look like, Vet. Go on YouTube and look up tic tac UFO. That's what they call one of the UFOs. Now let me go back to what we're talking about. Do you guys remember that in the article it talked about the representation of where the body was supposedly at and what symbol was carved or cut into and where? Y'all remember that? It was in the shape of what? Shape of a V. Shape of a V. Isn't that intriguing? What V would it be standing for? Why would it be standing for something like that? I find that interesting because now we see vehicles in our skies. I like how I put that. Vehicles in our skies in a V-shaped form. Now, perfect example is a TR-3B. Now, there's supposedly different versions as well, and we're going to get really deep into these in the next couple of series here of Clockworks. But you get the TR-3B, the TR-35, the TR-38, and I think it's a TR-54V. Several different shapes and styles of these flying craft in the sky. Maybe they're used, maybe they're us, maybe they're something else. We don't know. That shape of me, V, V, yes, V, 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 nano. Sorry. Michelle, saucer shape, tic-tac shape, V shape. Yes. Yes. Now, that's the other thing. The representation of what it said in the articles pre-existing 1897 was not very good. It said flying ships. Again, I'm going to go back to what we talked about. And I think it was Michelle or Cindy stated how it does sound like a boat. So that would be a roundish bottom, maybe tipped on the ends on each side. Maybe they couldn't see on top. If it didn't come down, maybe there was just observating. Maybe it was nothing. We don't know. Cindy, I think that the smaller ships investigate and go back to a city-sized ship is what I believe from reading Dolores Cannon books. Okay, there you go. Shameless plug. I don't know what you think about these truths in her case writings. No, I do agree with you. And I can't talk but so much because this is going to be more in a lot of the episodes. Yes, some yes. Okay, you beat me to it. Yes. Submarine. Yes. Thank you, Kev. I was not trying to go there. I was trying to avoid it because that's in the future episodes, but yes, there you go. I do believe at this point, we're coming up close to the show. I can give my input on this. That's what I want to do. Rhonda and I will deliver our observations and our thoughts at per case and what we can think and give our own opinion. Now, Kevin already brought it up. You got me there, Kev. Submarine. Yes, I thought the same thing. What is the best? Let me put it like this, because me and Robert have discussed this, and I've used this theory. The best shape that would be best used in an outer atmospheric flight. Wouldn't it be the same shape of pressured shape used in our deepest waters? That means it would be a submarine style light. There's a reason why it's round, cylindrical, has the shape that it does. It works better on high pressure situations. Interesting. Now, I do believe also there are several different types of vehicles. Now, I can't talk about this too much more because in episodes now further down the road, we're going to be talking about an episode where a gentleman was a part of a secret government situation where he was meant to go and make sure that the vehicles made by humans were taken care of. Okay, that's about all I can say about it right now. All right, but I do believe there are certain vehicles are made for certain situations. TR-3B is for one situation. Maybe the TR-54 is designed for another case or another investigation, another purpose. Good possibility. That's how I feel. Cindy, I think that the smallest. All right, we already got that one. Sorry about that. Flying ones, absolutely. Flying submarines. We see that through sci-fi all the time. Michelle, I'm wondering if ship means like a half moon shape without the sail. That's a good point too. Remember, we're talking about terminology. Terminology from back at 1897. We didn't even have the term submarine. Oh, yes, we did. I take it back. What am I talking about? Robert, before you say anything, yes, we did. The Confederates actually designed the first submarine working submarine, etc. So I take that back. Uh, but that is an interesting thought. I agree with you. Interesting point. So let me get up there on this good point. Very good point. Kev, wait. It can go underwater or fly. Ah, yes, Howie. Exactly. It can go underwater or fly. Bingo. Because of the structure of the symbolism on how it's made. Right, the cigar-shaped ones, exactly. Which they moved to cigar shape to Tic Tacs. That's just because that naval air pilot called it a Tic Tac. So, oh look, looks changed the name. Did you know the name was originally UAP? The military originally used that name. They were not UFOs. Just a little future, and you're going to hear about this when we get up to the Project Blue Book series. But the military used UAPs, not UFOs. It was the good doctor who renamed them to UFO, unidentified flying objects. The military always used, even when the food fighters, and we're going to talk about this even more, but even when the food fighters came about during World War II, it was UAPs. That's right. Just let you know. So the military went back to using the original name. Now, that I don't know why that came into my memory, but what about the shape of the ship in the Navigator? Anybody remember that movie? Yeah. How about that? Sometimes sci-fi dictates future. Dun dun dun. Welcome to the world of Julius Verne. That's why I'm steampunk. Doot, doot. All right, Kev, exactly. My thoughts, Michelle. Cigar shape. Exactly, you guys. So, here we are. We have started now Clockwork. We started with this one series. Now, we could have gone back much further, but I really wanted to stick in the 19th to 20th century to the 21st, not go too far, because I wanted to stick in the conspiracy theories of where we're at right now. That make more sense to us of our lifetime right now. So, if you guys you want to offer some information, if there's things that you want to see, cases you want to hear about, send it on over to us. We'll be more than happy to look it over if it's not already in our case studies. And, we can add it to it. There you go, guys. There you are. We'll bring that shape back up. I think any help that you want to give us, that'd be great. If there's a story or something you already know, even if it's just a minor article, send it over. It all builds into something that we all should know about. So that's how I feel about that. Yeah. Let me see how this is going. See what I was talking about, you guys? See that? Yeah. Okay. I like that. That's pretty cool. Now check this out. I wonder if I can do it this way. All right. Da-da-da-da-da. Okay. Radius. All right. You're not doing what I wanted you to do. There we go. Radius. Minimize. That's interesting. Hold on, you guys. I'm trying to figure this whole thing. No. Oh, look, it did it for me there. Oh, that's pretty cool. All right, so I got to figure this whole thing out. I'm still playing with this stuff, you guys, and I'm kind of inclusive. I got a little bit of it. Let's see. Wow, that's just radius on that one. Cool. So, there we are. So please, let's get ready for an incredible series. I'm thankful you guys are here with us. I want to appreciate you coming and taking the time to listen to this series. It's going to get more in depth. Today was just the beginning of so much more. I personally would like to apologize on behalf of the doctor, GPT. Not sure what's going on. I know I've had problems with it before when I got too sensitive, and for some reason, it lost all its information. So I'm going to have to make sure I didn't lose it. But again, If there's anything in the future that you guys want to talk about, you want to hear on this particular series, Clockwork, and you think it's conspiracy linking, let's do it. Okay? Let's do it. Heidi! 7 p.m. Eastern, right? And I keep thinking it's 6 Mountain, but it's 5 p.m. Yes, 7 p.m. Eastern time. It's been this way. But it's okay, Heidi. I'm just glad you made it. Thank you for being here. Absolutely no. Thank y'all. Thank you so much. And Jen, I appreciate you being here. And and if I had it, we'll give a salute. Yeah, we will. Yeah, let's do that, you guys. Oh, can I do that? No, I'm not gonna do that. I'm gonna do here we go. So to Jennifer, and we want to say thank you, Jennifer, and to Vet, since you never got this, to the new travelers here. Thank you for being here. I truly appreciate it. My name's Howie Odell, and I hope you will join us next Sunday right here at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on the Rift Nation Network. Let's continue to help each other. Let's solve the problem. Let's find out where the problem is. Let's pull the root out of it. I think a lot of us know where the root is. We just got to solve it. Don't be scared to pull the root. That's the only way we're going to make it, you guys. It's the only way we're going to do it. We have to pull the root. And on that, may virtue be all of ours. Thank you so much, travelers. And those alike, hopefully we made some new travelers. That's right. We'll see you on the other side. Good night, folks.